Welcome back to the channel. Today we start the teardown. Jeff and I are going to remove the carburetor and get it ready for cleanup and reassembly. Let's jump right into it.
So we'll do the fuel line. So we'll pull that fuel line off. Bend it up over the way. Now we'll do the choke lever. Point with these. There's a little tiny cotter pin here. There. I don't know if you can see, you don't want to lose that. Just look here. So you get this little tiny cotter pin here. Real small. And it can be really finicky to try and get it aligned properly to pull it out. And if you're not careful, you can break the choke lever itself. So once you get that lined up a bit better, and see, it just likes to spin on you. I don't know what you call them. It's just there it is. See how small that is, though?
Oh yeah.
That's right. It's literally tiny. It's hard to bend and stuff. There we go. Yeah. So once you get the pin out and the cotter pin, choke lever just pulls straight out. And then that's free moving. So, fuel line, choke lever, low speed adjustment needle. So what you do is pull. Of course now it's going to be, come on now. Okay, well, there it is. Just pops off, it's on a spline. Little spline there. I had that on too tight, that's what happened there. Then there's a nut right here, which stops, it threads in and stops the, it was 8 mil, so it's probably 10 mil in there. Likely. I mean, it's probably loose enough that I don't need that anyway, because I was already tinkering with it. Yeah. So this knot here, just stops the needle from just being able to pull out, right? So you just back that off, back the threads off, and it slides freely on it. And then you take the needle itself, and it threads out. And what do we got here? Looks like a bunch of rubber gasket. Well now, that would explain why I wasn't turning. Okay, that's going to be a bit of a pain to get off. There's just something to bust that off, that's all. There it is. There we go. Wow. I'm not really sure what. Doesn't even feel like gasket material though. Or O-ring, right? It's weird, it almost feels like silicone. Which in that case, it shouldn't even be in there anyway. So you got the little nut, which again just holds into the front of the carburetor. Stops the needle from being able to just pull out. And then the needle itself threads out. And if these are real old, this needle will be ground right down. You see it on a lot of them. A lot of the videos I watched, reviews I've looked on these needles have wore right out. This one's actually in pretty good shape.
Nice.
So that's nice because it saves money, and saving money is good. Who doesn't want to save money, right? So that was low speed adjustment needle. The choke and the fuel line's off. So next we do the recoil starter. These two bolts here, 8 mil. Technically probably 7, but the 8 will work. You just gotta be careful, you don't strip them. So there's one here, and there's a trick for this. So what you want to do You start backing them off. Doesn't matter which one you do first, either one. You get them off. Like so. Tried to cheat there, I thought I had loose enough. So that one's backed up pretty good. And move around to this one here on the inside. Yeah, too early. Everybody seems to think that you gotta pull this right off, but you don't. This whole thing is wound, spring loaded, as you can see. So, if you don't have to take it off and lose that, this saves a step. So there's a little trick to it, and we're going to do that trick. So there's the first one. Just pull it like that. And the second one. And this has to be taken off too, because there's a bolt. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a couple minutes. On the inside, that holds there's a second one, and now we can pull that up. So what you do, there's also a little guide pin sits on the inside. So I like to kind of just try and wiggle that off to the side a bit, pull the guide pin. It's just a pin that literally, it's like a dowel. And then this moves freely. So you can take it and you pop it out just like this, right? So you see the big spring down in here.
See it?
Just barely. It's a little, there it is. It's a little dirty, so it's hard to see. But there's a spring right there that's wound. And that's what allows your recoil starter here to keep its tension. You don't have to take this all the way out. That's still wound. So it's just taken up carefully and set up against the side here. And it's holding this position, which allows us to get to the throttle linkage here. That has to be taken out. So that's the next step, which is a flathead. You just come in here like this, and you just back that out like so. And as you're doing this, you want to be really careful because there's a special little washer here. You do not want to lose it. Once that's backed out, we want to make sure we get that washer first and foremost. See how thick it is? A little thicker than your standard washer. So then, your throttle linkage pretty much free to come off. You get the screw, and then the linkage itself then just comes out. You wiggle it out like so. Like that. So now we're disconnected from the carburetor. Carburetor's free to come off now. It's just this bolt here and another one on the exact opposite side. It's just two more bolts and carburetor's off. They are, I believe, an 11 mil, but if you're in a little bit of a bind, 12 will work. Just gotta be careful.
11?
I think so, yeah. Do you got an 11?
Yeah.
We'll just double make sure then. Definitely an 11. So they're 11 mil for those two bolts to hold it to the power right here. So they're broken free now. So we'll be able to spin these up. This one here is a pain to get back on. Like, it's tedious.
How much access?
No, there isn't. And when you're trying to do that, what I did is I put the bolt in the open box end of the wrench.
Yeah.
And I carefully slid it on, and I got it on there. So you get two bolts, 11 mil, and then this one here. And I don't know how many times I dropped it down inside the motor. A magnet would be really helpful, putting this on. If you had a magnet, somebody else is doing this, you had a magnet, I would recommend that 100%, because just a small piece to try and hold on to in a tight area. So once there it goes, yeah, see, it's gonna. Okay, let's see here. I think I can get it. Just gonna use this guide pin. There it goes. So I'll get that after I pull the carburetor the rest of the way off. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna get it right now. Because the carburetor's ready to just come off now. There's nothing holding it on anymore. Come on, there it goes. Okay.
You get it?
Yep. Which is all good.
After I found my magnet.
We can use that to put it back on.
Yeah.
We got to reinstall this. So basically, the whole reason why this carburetor's coming off, it was already off. I put a new carburetor kit in it. The choke, or the not the choke, sorry, the float rather, I didn't touch. I just put the choke in and left it how it was because it looked fairly level. I think I'm gonna have to play with that a little bit because you had to level the choke with the body. That's what I've been told. So that's what we're going to do. So now we just pull the carburetor off, just like so. Voila. That's the little carburetor there. See, there's a new gasket right there in the body. And this is your drainage bolt, by the way, to drain the bowl. That's just flathead. You just back it off, and that's how you drain the bowl of the carburetor. For any gas, if it's going to set for 4 months or something, that's what you do. You drain the bowl, and yeah, you drain the bowl. That way, there's nothing, no old gas that sits in there to get bad and gum it up, right? So now we can pull the carburetor apart, really. Yeah, so that's what we'll do. Oh, gasket here. That's a brand new gasket, so we're going to reuse that 100%. We'll reuse all the gaskets in this because I just put this kit on. I bought the kit at Whitewater Marine on Lucasville Road in, that's Lower Sackville, wasn't it? Lower? Middle Sackville.
I don't know if it's classified as no Sackville or not.
Sackville. So I bought the kit, the carburetor repair or rebuild kit from Whitewater Marine for $46. I say $50, and that was a local boating shop here. I had bought one off Amazon, the same part number as the OEM kit. It is not even close. The float was twice the size. None of the gaskets lined up. I have pictures of it somewhere. So what we'll do is we'll pull this carb apart now, and I recommend keep a little Ziploc baggie if you're going to store the parts, just because there's a lot of small parts and screws and stuff you don't want to lose, because then I don't even know if they sell them separately, to be honest. Probably end up spending $100 just to get something, you know what I mean? Alright, so you got 5 screws for the carburetor bowl to separate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. they gotta come out right now. So you just back them out. Number one. And it's a very good thing when you have magnetic tools and parts pull because you don't even get to touch the screw. Number two. I lied. I had to touch that one.
I didn't know they would make that.
Screwdrivers? Oh yeah. I don't think they make any now that aren't magnetic.
I think so.
Well, they probably do, but
What's the bottom one there?
I think majority of them you get now are probably magnetic. That was number three. That's number four. And sometimes these screws here,
Yeah.
sometimes they can be seized in there. Like if this was the original kit that was in the carburetor, never rebuilt, never replaced, like it's never been separated,
Yeah.
these screws will be seized in there. And there's a little trick to getting them out. Some people use an impact hammer,
Yeah.
right? Or some people just take a screwdriver like this with a small ball peen hammer
Yeah.
and a whack the top of the screwdriver, and it's called shocking the bolt.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll break free the corrosion or whatever on the threads enough that you separate the strip, because you don't want to strip these.
No.
100% you do not want to strip these. So that's the last one. It's number 5. So then just pulls apart like so. Bottom of the bowl, you get your gasket. Whew, that's ripe smelling in there, let me tell you. That gasket's still, yeah, that's beautiful, perfect. And then we got our float. So, you know, at the top of the float to be level here. So I mean level, I mean sitting perfectly like in sync, right? So it can be hard to eyeball, but you just gotta do your best. I wonder if this jet here, you want to be really careful with these because they're brass and you will strip them extremely easy. And you'll see what I mean because I did tighten the other one too tight a little bit and there's a lot of fuel sitting in there. So you want to make sure, if you're looking at these jets, you want to make sure that with the jet that you can see through it, right? So you take this apart to rebuild it or whatever, there's just a little O-ring here that can come off. When you take it apart to clean it or whatever with carb cleaner, like you can see straight through that. So there's no problem. It's not clogged up or anything. I gotta go like that, do I?
Oh, there you go.
It's gonna be hard to see anyway, but you can see right through that. So there's no clogs. It's clean. So that's in good shape. And what'll happen most commonly is if you over tighten it, you'll strip this off here, really mar the top of the head of that, and that's, yeah, you don't. The best thing to remove this pin anyway is like a small punch and then a small pair of needle nose, just because you gotta punch, push the hole or the pin through that hole enough to grab it with a pair of pliers, right? And this is the float seat. I wonder if I can almost grab that with my fingers. That'd be pretty cool. There's a lot of information on these motors too on the internet, and that's just what I've been doing, is reading as I'm going, and save a lot of money if you can do it yourself. So why not? Let's try. There it is. Got it. Yep. And just like everything else inside the carburetor, not everything, but this pin's made of brass too, so you don't want to squeeze that too tight with pliers or anything because you can really damage that. So Lay that there. Now your float will come right up. And you get the little, I think this is called a needle valve, I guess. And it's just on a little spring, which goes on like that. And this will actually, you can actually remove that from there too if you'd like. I'm just going to leave that on. And that's in good shape. That's brand new, so I wouldn't expect any less. Right here, this is where I was talking about where it's soft.
Yeah.
See how I marred that up a little bit? I put that in just a tad too tight. I wasn't paying attention when I was putting it in.
Make a mistake.
Yep. So you wanna...
You bigger flathead or is that?
Oh, that's good. I got it. Slow, even pressure. That's what takes her out. So you get the float seat. Your float seat right here. Then you get this. They give you a little plastic washer for that. And again, you want to make sure that's free and clear. And that's free and clear. So it's almost like it's getting too much, which is weird. But there's this here is where the low speed adjustment needle goes in. That bolt that threaded on.
Right. So
when you put it back together, what's recommended is you put it in, you screw the needle in till the needle bottoms out. So not super tight, just till it just bottoms out, and you back it out 1.5 turns. And that's supposed to be the setting to start with when you're adjusting your idle with it. So. I think we'll probably clean this up real good again before we put that back together. So that'll be another time for that. But there's the float, the one that I got from the Amazon kit. I kid you not, the float was that big around.
yeah, it looked like it was the size of the bowl itself.
Yeah, it was that big around. It was insane. That's a brand new float. So that's the size it's supposed to be. The other float literally was bigger than the gasket.
In the next video, we're going to reassemble the carb, install it back on the engine, and try to fire her up and see how she runs. So thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you in the next one.
What do you need for tools?
I think 8mm wrench, I believe, and a 12mm wrench, flathead, and some pliers, needle nose.